There's a disclaimer on this video that it is not intended for children, but adults only. I'm going to be teaching you guys today on fathers and dads, but before I proceed, I want to say that we only have one father, and that father is up in heaven. We have earthly dads, so I will be referring to the dads in my teaching as dads. I'm going to start by reading 3 verses, and then I have several verses to read at the end, but we're going to read the first verse now, as soon as I get my notes. Ooh, sorry. The first verse I'm going to read is from Psalms. It's chapter 103, verse 13. And that shall be. Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth those who believe him, or who fear him, sorry. I'm going to read to you another verse, and that will be in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 7. Just give me a second to find it. The just man walketh in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. And the next verse I'm going to read to you is in Ephesians 6:4. Take me a minute to find Ephesians here. Chapter 6, verse 4. I think I know this one. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and domination of the Lord. Which means bring up your children in church. I still have more verses, but those will be at the end of the sermon. At the end of the service. There are all kinds of dads out there. There are stepdads, dads, granddads, grandpaps, adopted dad. There's many other ones out there too I just haven't mentioned. There's also, we're going to do a little interactive thing here in a little bit. But everybody, whether you have a mom who's a dad to you, that's another type of dad, in a single family home, or single parent home, but everybody needs some kind of dad. I have lost my father, and I'm going to show you a cross made for him in a little bit here before I read the ending verses. But we only have one father up in heaven, that's Jesus. But when you need a dad of any type, I have a second father where I go to church. But a dad is kind of like an authority figure, a dad figure, and a male figure, and a young woman, and a young man's life. He is usually the main provider of the family. Now, for those of you who only have a single parent as a mom, she plays both roles as mom and dad. And we used to tell this to my dad all the time. Anytime we asked him a question, whether the answer was yes or no, we had to say, Master of the universe, King of the world, Daddy, sir. Father's Day is June 21st, and this will be my first Father's Day without my dad.
Master of the universe, King, Daddy, sir.
Fathers are half of the household,
Head of the household.
and they matter to their sons and daughters. Girls and boys are more likely to thrive with dad's time, attention, discipline, and especially affection. And they will steer clear of any trouble if they have their fathers in their homes. For boys, they are 2 or 3 times more likely before the age of 30 to end up in jail. And girls are 5 times more likely to become pregnant if dad left before they reached 6 years of age. Actually become pregnant as teenagers, actually. Boys, when they have a father in the home, they'll excel in school, they'll steer clear of the principal's office, and their homework and school conduct will be taken seriously. Dads are the primary breadwinners of the family. They are usually the ones that work outside the home, although now in today's society, mothers will do the same. I'm going to do our little interactive thing for this lesson. I'm going to be using 2 of my dolls. One's named Michaela, the other's Lauren, and this is an adoptive father situation on my opinions and my views of what an adoptive father's role is. Let me set the scene real quick. It's dinner time, and the mom, the dad, and the 2 children are at the dinner table. I'm not going to tell you which one's adopted and which one's not, but you could probably tell. That one is Lauren, and this next one is Michaela. So we're at dinner, and Michaela, the one back here, screams bloody murder at the table. We send her to her room for 10 minutes. We explain that if it happens again, and Michaela does it, it'll be 20 minutes. But if Lauren does it, it'll be her first time, so she'll be in her room for 10 minutes. In that interactive thing, what I'm trying to portray is that if you have a biological child and a adopted child, you brought the adopted child into your home to love them, nurture them, take care of them just like you do your biological children. Foster children, same thing. You brought them, you decided to foster that child to give them the same advantages of the other children that you have biologically, or however you have your family made. But in foster care, you get money for that child. That money needs to be spent on that child, not your own worldly luxuries of computers, vacations, whatever. That money's for that child to thrive in today's society, up to the age of 18. I'm going to read some Cloney. I can't speak today. For some reason, I have troubles today. I'm going to be reading some verses. The first one is Proverbs 4, 1 through 9. It's a pretty long one, but we'll get through it together. Give me a moment here to get to Proverbs chapter 1. In the wrong section of the Bible here. Here, we're in Proverbs. Again, chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. Sorry. This is a long one. This is one I wasn't going to do, but we'll do it anyway. Hear, ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. For I, my Father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also, and said unto me, Let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom with all my get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. It was talking about commandments in there. Does anybody know what commandments he's talking about? Minister, you know what commandments they were discussing in that?
I was actually thinking on something else.
The Ten Commandments. We follow the Ten Commandments, we've got a better chance of getting into heaven than someone who doesn't. Another verse I'm going to read to you is from Colossians chapter 3, verse 21. It will take me a minute to get there because I have no clue where some of these things are in the Bible. Oh, here we go. Like I said, it's chapter verse 21. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. That verse basically means don't let your children get angry. They'll be discouraged every time that you get angry when they do something wrong. Yes, there is a thing called discipline, but there's also another thing called angry. Just 1 second, please. And anytime you get angry with your children, when they try something and fail, they'll be discouraged to try it again and succeed the next time. So please, when your children try something and they don't succeed, praise them, encourage them to go on. Our next verse will be in Genesis 18:19, so chapter 8, verse 19. Or chapter 18, verse 19. And Genesis will be the first book of the Bible, in case you don't know where Genesis is. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And when I read these verses and say Father, we are talking about Jesus. just for those of you who aren't inclined to biblical stuff. We're going to go back to Proverbs this time, and we are going to do chapter 13, verse 24. Whoops, wrong page, sorry. A little bit ahead of myself here. Here we go. Again, chapter 13, verse 24. He that spareth his rod hath his son, but he loveth his chasteneth him betimes. Whatever that means.
I know what that means.
It means basically spare that rod, spoil that child. Our next one's going to be in Luke, chapter 15, verses 20 through 24. Took a lot longer to look these up than it does to read them.
Hey, Kristen, when you get done, I'm going to step up there and say something.
Luke, what did I say? Chapter 15, verses 20 through 24. Oh, I'm wrong. It is chapter 20, but I pulled the wrong bookmark out. But it is Luke. We are doing Luke. Obviously, I did not mark the right one, so let me just find this real quick. Chapter 15. Oh, it's on the wrong page. Here's Luke, chapter 15, verses 20 to 24. Yes. Here we go. This is on the return and the Father. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great man off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And his son said unto him, Father, have I sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son? But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. And this is the rejoicing part of it. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat, and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they begin to be merry. The next verse I'm going to read to you is in Psalms 78, verses 5, or chapter 5, verse 8. This is chapter 78, chapter 5, verse 8. Sorry. It's 78 verses 5 through 8. Sorry for the confusion there. For he established a testimony in Jacob, and sometimes hold on, and approached Allah in Israel. Which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should rise and declare them their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. Again, we are speaking of the 10 Commandments. And might be their fathers a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that not set their hearts aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. The next verse I will be reading will be in 3 John 1:4, which is the chapter 8 for Revelations. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. And that is Jesus saying that he loves it when his children walk in the truth of the Bible and live by the truth and not by lies that people feed them. And that is not just the younger ages. That is all of us. We are all the children of God. Your next verse I'm going to be reading is Psalms 127, verses 3 through 5, chapters 127, verse 3 through 5. Here we go. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them that shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. Our next one will be, the next two verses are going to be in Proverbs. The first one is going to be chapter 3, verses 11 through 12.